Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ahead Spring Summit 2022 edition. I'm Tom Pohlman. Myself and my colleagues here at Ahead will be your virtual MCs for this year's two-day event. So welcome. We have 9 very informative, engaging sessions lined up for you across today and tomorrow, all arrayed under the theme of acceleration, and specifically accelerating to cloud-native platforms. Now, you are likely here because your organization is under pressure to transform digitally and to transform faster. You're probably facing a number of drivers, whether it's improving the customer experience, empowering your employees with more data-driven insights, releasing new applications and features faster, delivering more flexible next-generation infrastructure to support business growth, all while running more securely. Of course, it's a complex brew of competing and sometimes seemingly conflicting objectives. And cloud-native strategies and platforms are now viewed as a critical linchpin to meeting most all of those demands. In fact, Gartner expects that by 2025, cloud-native platforms will serve as the foundation for 95% of new digital initiatives, up from less than 40% in 2021. So if that's where we're going, the question is, how do we get there faster? And that's the intent of our summit sessions this year. So today we're going to start things off with a conversation with Ahead CTO Eric Kaplan on accelerating modernization, the trends, the challenges, and the opportunities for building the cloud-native enterprise. So with that, we're going to bring in Eric. Eric, welcome. Now, a lot of clients will know who you are because you spend a lot of time out there with them. But if you don't mind, Eric, start by telling us a little bit about yourself, sharing a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Tom. I've been here at Ahead for about 12 years, Tom. I'm currently the CTO for Ahead and primarily focused on our strategy and offerings. So what do we want to bring to market? What services are we focused on? Some of our partnerships as well, and really making sure that we have alignment between our strategy internally, that with our clients, and with our partners at the end of the day.
12 years, awesome. That you were employee number, what are we talking here?
Maybe first 20-something employees. Okay. So it's been a good run.
And now we're around 1,300. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I think we're just going to have a dialogue and kind of talk about some of the themes we're seeing across the summit that our colleagues will go into a lot more depth on. But let's start with something you shared with me during our prep for this year's event. You shared an interesting framework on how organizations are tackling transformation, those that are kind of playing offense and those playing defense. And I just thought that'd be an interesting place to start and tell us kind of what you're seeing out there in our clients.
Yeah, it's really clear when I sit down with clients, those that are playing offense, they're investing for the future. They have a strategy and they're building and partnering with the business around a platform-based approach within the enterprise. And those who are playing defense are typically, they haven't invested over the last several years. They've been putting off some of the major initiatives that those with a offensive strategy have. I think at the end of the day, this comes down to that of a growth mindset on the offensive side, or am I playing defense and am I frankly in a little bit of survival mode? And those that are kind of playing defense are frankly playing a little bit of catch up. Maybe don't have a strategy or a platform-based approach that those with the growth mindset do. So this is kind of, it's a very almost binary type discussion with a lot of clients today.
Interesting. So you mentioned platform-based and strategy. We're going to come back to those two terms because I want to learn more about your take on those. But is it too late for those playing defense? You said it's binary. What do we tell them?
Look, it's never too late, but I think, the business is coming with more requirements, new requirements. They're really, trying to drive the pace of innovation. And so I think if you're playing defense, you have to have, the intestinal fortitude to make some tough decisions to get back on track. And really, IT partnering with the business, being at the table is no longer a question in those organizations that are playing offense. And so I think, these decisions have to be front and center within the organization. And they're not easy. They're hard. They involve people, process, technology. And if you make these decisions, I don't think it's the end of your chance to become an offensive mindset company. But at the end of the day, you got to make the decisions and move forward.
Tough choices. Okay, cool. We're going to follow up on that too. But I want to talk about, maybe this is a bit about some of those tough decisions. I'm going to talk about barriers to success, Eric. Whether you're playing offense or defense, we know that, transformation's not easy. So what are, let's say, maybe the three biggest challenges you're seeing out in our clients or companies you work with when it comes to transformation?
The three that I would focus on, and I think come up in a lot of conversations, are technical debt. So, most of the clients that we work with have a lot of history and a lot of technical debt that's built up over years. Nobody's fault. It just is out there. Two is the skill set and just mindset challenges out there of how do I think about evolving what I'm doing day to day, and what are the new skills I might need to be relevant and new platforms and technologies that exist out there. And then I'd probably say the third one is how much time am I spending on the new things, the innovation, versus just turning the crank and operating what's in my environment today. And I think that balance of the innovate versus operate has to continue to shift over time.
Yeah, it's in that context that there's a lot of those tough trade-offs that have to be made, those decisions you were talking about. Like, are you spending too much time on the operate versus the innovate side of the spectrum? So technical debt, skill set and sort of mindset issues, and then this innovate operate dilemma. Maybe looking for like some advice. Our theme this year is acceleration. So if you had to suggest maybe one thing in each of those areas to address those challenges, but at the same time kind of go faster, what would you tell our attendees?
So on the technical debt side, I think we've moved a lot of clients to public cloud environments. So really refactoring and shifting applications and workloads. And you'd be amazed how many applications and pieces of infrastructure you can shut down and nobody notices. You just got to make the decision once again. So I think on the technical debt side, don't be afraid to shut some stuff down. Okay. And if you hear anything, which I doubt you will in a lot of cases, you can make a big impact on that side of things. On the people side of things, it comes down to, I think, alignment of goals, but also investing in skill sets that may not exist within your organization today. And how do you do that in a way that teaches people that their current role is still of value, but we need to evolve you and we need to invest in you for the future. And then on the innovate operate side of things, I think to get the time to innovate, you have to automate. And so how do we automate a lot of the operational tasks that can buy you time and dollars and help you drive innovation, so you're not just operating in a manual fashion the current world, but you're innovating in the new world.
Nice. Okay. Very helpful. Say, I want to kind of riff off something you said, this platform-based approach, Eric. You said it earlier. Obviously, there are many, many technologies in play when it comes to digital, and I want to get your take on a few of them. So for reference, I'm going to have our team put up a visual here. So you'll see what we call the Ahead Digital Delivery Platform. And at Ahead, we'd like to discuss this platform-based approach to transformation. If you could, talk about the benefits of that platform-based thinking and maybe the need for organizations, like many of whom are on this summit today, to adopt something similar.
Yeah, I think we've been using a platform-based approach with our clients for probably the last 8 to 10 years. And what it really does is it makes you think more holistically about your needs as an organization and the services that need to be provided across the organization, and how these services ultimately, we can look at any of the elements on the digital delivery platform, and they're all highly interconnected at the end of the day. So by looking at it in a platform-based approach, we start to think about, how do I have to connect these together? Where are the points of automation that might have to exist throughout this? How do I have to secure this platform? And how do I provide it back to the business to get scale and leverage? So I'm not building duplicate capabilities and services in different business units or in a siloed based approach. So the platform is a construct. It's not something physical that we can buy, or it's not a SKU, but it's a way to wrap our thoughts and strategy around an approach that provides leverage.
Okay, awesome. So with that sort of setup, the visuals off the screen, but I just want to, as CTO at Ahead, you have your hands in a lot of our partnerships, a lot of our solutions, as you said. Just want to fire some questions about some of the hotter technology concepts. Let's start with cloud native, since it's key to digital transformation. I think it's in the title of our summit, obviously. There was a stat from Gartner that I mentioned earlier that they expect cloud native platforms to be the foundation for almost all new digital initiatives by 2025, up from just 40% last year. Putting some of the specific numbers aside, do you buy that statement or that prediction?
Well, I think cloud native means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So, that aside, I think the reality is that whether we're talking about SaaS, whether we're talking about cloud native services that exist in the hyperscalers, the predominant net new greenfield type applications and services will be deployed in a cloud native form and fashion, because they're simpler, they're scalable. I don't have to worry about managing the underpinnings. And frankly, some of these services, I don't think that traditional IT organizations and teams should be investing time to build or become experts in. They just need to reap the benefits of the services that are being provided to deliver faster to the business, to be more agile, and to leverage for innovation. So I do think Gartner is directionally correct. It's going to take time for each organization to adopt these services as fit, but this is the direction that we are headed and our clients are headed.
Right. So cloud native is key to accelerating, the rollout of new services. And here we are talking today and tomorrow about accelerating to cloud native. Interesting. So on that note, a little bit of terminology clear up. Just would like to get yours and Ahead's take. We talk public cloud, private cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, on-prem, public. What is Ahead's take on cloud? Can you put kind of a finer point on it?
So I think Ahead's take is, take all those terms aside. It's easy to bucketize what you're doing in one or more of those landing zones or destinations. It's really about the business needs for the workload at the end of the day that it's at hand. And our position is, we want to help you across public, whatever's in your data center, at a colo, at the edge, and design, architect, and help enable your team to deliver on or across any of those platforms. I believe every one of our clients today is in a multi-cloud world. They have one or more public clouds. They're trying to automate and become efficient in their own four walls. They're trying to tie these worlds together and really offer a seamless experience for developers, for IT administrators, for business users. So I don't like to get too wrapped up around the terminology, but more importantly, what's the approach we're leveraging to meet the needs of the business? And that's going to be, at the end of the day, a multi-cloud world in my book.
Okay, thank you. So one last question then, as it pertains to cloud native. Give us like one imperative, like a must do initiative that's going to dominate enterprise agendas this year and into next as it pertains to cloud?
So I think, everyone's dipped their toe into cloud, especially, public cloud. They have a footprint in Amazon, Azure, Google. And when they dip their toe in, they probably built that infrastructure in a way that they knew they were maybe under pressure to get something up and running. And what I'm seeing today is a need to make these cloud platforms and the applications and services that are being leveraged on top of them enterprise ready. And so, how do I think about automation? How do I think about security? How do I think about governance, risk, and compliance? How do I really take an enterprise approach? And this is zooming out, stepping back, and how do I think about connecting and getting visibility into not only what's in my public cloud environment, but what I have in my existing four walls and my applications and infrastructure that's running today. And so I think this enterprise approach, the hardening of these services and capabilities that I need is really, really key right now. And I think if you don't zoom out and take the time and effort to put these core pieces of enterprise functionality in place that we all need and depend on, it's going to be hard to do it over time. And you're going to have to reboot it in short order and start with a clean slate, which is certainly possible, but will just set folks back in terms of the progress they're going to make if not careful.
Got it. Okay. So that zooming out, kind of what you were saying about that platform-based approach, you need that sort of approach to actually indeed zoom out and enterprise harden these things. Okay. Hey, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about data and analytics, because we have that featured in a couple of sessions on our summit this year. This is an area that I had ventured into early last year when we acquired Vertical Trail. Very hot space for us, data and analytics. Give me your thoughts on some of the challenges and opportunities that our clients are seeing with respect to data.
I think some of the challenges that exist out there aren't new challenges, but they're becoming ever more critical to most organizations. And the pattern that I see most frequently as I talk to clients, and was one of the top use cases that Vertical Trail solved, was the fact that data within the organization, within most organizations, is typically siloed. Lots of different stovepipes of data, and really thinking about how do I consolidate data, make it available on a platform that I can do analytics around, present valuable visualization around, and really provide data as value back to the business so that folks can understand clients better, their industries better, and really unlocking its intrinsic value. And that's something that I think is repeatable. There's quick wins that are out there, and we can help with really quickly. So, I think right now folks have a lot of information, have a lot of data, but they're not using it in a way that's impacting their business. And more clients of ours are looking for ways to do that.
Interesting. Okay. This has been hugely helpful, Eric, and I think it'll be extremely valuable to our attendees as well. I'm going to wrap up with just two more questions here. And I'm going to transition a little bit to discussing the role of infrastructure modernization overall. The data center is where Ahead was born back, 12 years ago plus when you started. And a lot is still going on there. So I wanted to just get your take on something. We're going to put up that digital delivery platform visual once again. Few, if any, organizations get to start on a cloud native journey with just a clean slate, right? They've got complex needs, like you said, enterprise grade needs around network security, data retention, et cetera. Talk a little bit about the importance of understanding the traditional world of IT and the cloud native world kind of collectively, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think we all sit in an interesting place today, and that, as you said, we don't get the luxury to wipe the slate clean and start fresh. And we talked about technical debt earlier, but there's a lot of very valuable infrastructure and applications that run today perfectly fine And, that doesn't mean that they aren't valuable, they aren't useful, but we've got to also bridge that to the new world. And I think our value as a head to many of our clients is we really understand that infrastructure as it exists today in most organizations, the network, the storage, the security, the automation that exists there. And we also have been investing for the last 10 years in the cloud world, understanding how to build infrastructure in a highly repeatable, automated, self-service way. And the bridge between the two is getting stronger, actually, in my mind, and understanding how to tie networks together, how to think of security holistically is something that I think we're in a unique position to do. And that I think our clients need a partner that has a view of both worlds and how to bring them together. And so it's not one or the other is valuable, they're both valuable. And how do we tie them together? We often talk about stitching, but we stitch that story together and we act as the bridge to help you, I think, bring that platform approach at the end of the day to the enterprise.
Interesting. Good stuff. Well, I think the final question for you, Eric, was sort of pertains to something you said at the very beginning. If you're trying to shift from that defensive mindset to more of an offensive mindset with respect to digital and IT in general, what's that kind of one final bit of advice, that one key imperative that every organization we're working with should be thinking about right now?
So I think the one imperative that's on the top of my mind, and I think goes a long way to making progress on the initiatives we've talked about today and having that growth mindset and playing from an offensive position, is you have to have a strategy and you have to have organizational alignment to that strategy. And I'm not talking about a 150-page McKinsey deck that no one will ever read and it'll collect dust on a shelf. But I really think that documenting an actionable roadmap and a strategy of where you want to go and aligning the organization to those objectives sets everyone up and aligns them in a way that's extremely powerful. And these aren't year-long exercises, but they can be done in some cases a matter of weeks, depending on what already exists, to a few months, and are really, really powerful at the end of the day to making progress and becoming an innovation engine and shifting from just operating to accelerating how you view IT as a stakeholder within the business and make progress on key initiatives throughout the organization. So spending a little bit of time up front will help you gain massive, I think, effects in terms of just the return on that little investment over a longer period of time.
Awesome. Eric, thank you. As always, appreciate you sharing your insights. We're going to turn Eric loose, and I'm going to kind of segue to our next session. So Eric, see you later. We'll let you drop. Appreciate your time. Okay, so a couple of logistical items before we get to that next session. Please be sure to fill out the survey on your Summit console to be entered into a raffle to win a pair of AirPod Max headphones. Pretty cool. We value your feedback, and it helps us shape not only these events, but our offerings, our workshops, and more. Also, be sure to visit our partner sponsor booths for a lot of relevant content about their offerings. You can find those booths on the sponsor banner, again, on your Summit homepage, what we call the Summit console. And if you miss any sessions today or tomorrow, don't worry. We'll make all that content available on demand as soon as each session has run live. With that, I want to introduce our next session featuring Ahead Chief Cloud Architect, Mark Hansen. He will discuss some of the business capabilities the cloud can deliver, some of the common migration traps to avoid, and the growing and changing role of automation needed to optimize your digital delivery platform. So thanks again for joining us at this year's Summit. Mark, over to you.